Welcome to the October 2024 Astrological Forecast by me, Master Metaphysical Astrologer Michael Bartlett. This month is going to be quite a doozy. What you're going to get from this video, an explanation of the relationships the planets are sharing with one another, what's going to be going on, what's going to be activated for the planets, for us, and for those of us with specific aspects to these placements. The time or date stamp for the astrological activity, meaning the day it's going to be happening, depending on where you are on the planet. And lunar cycles are not included, except when we, of course, when it comes to lunar eclipses, which is what we had back in September. And we're going to be having the final part or the close to that eclipse coming up here in October. And we're also going to be talking about the movements for the planets for the month of October. So for the key themes for October is it's going to be another busy and intense month. The solar eclipse is going to be happening at 10 degrees, 4 minutes of Libra, thereby affecting all of the cardinal signs. And we'll get into that in a couple of moments. Pluto goes direct. There are going to be quite a few squares and oppositions going on. And Pluto turns around and goes direct, spending its last few weeks in the sign of Capricorn. Please adjust for your dates and times that I state here because we all live in different places on the planet. I use what's called a fourth harmonic forecast, meaning I'm going to be talking about the conjunctions, oppositions, and squares, those aspects that are divisible by 4. So we began the 2nd of October with the conclusion of the lunar eclipse and relationship here in our part of the solar system and the galaxy, in that our moon is just far enough away that it can give us the sense of there being no sunlight, meaning that the moon as a disk moves in between those of us here on Earth and the sun itself, making it seem like it's making a disappearing act. Of course, we see a little out of aura. Not many of us are really going to be seeing this. People in Hawaii will be able to see a bit of it. People in South America will be able to see it, but the vast majority of it's happening in the South Pacific, away from where most of us live. So this still is going to affect those of us who have planets in the 0 to 20 degrees of the cardinal signs, meaning Aries, Cancer, Libra, of course, where it's happening, and the sign of Capricorn. So if you have a sun there, you're going to be affected by this eclipse. If you have any other planets there in this placement, you're also going to be affected. Solar eclipses have a way of bringing things to light that we didn't see, that we're being in the process of. And with it being in Libra, the sign of relationship, the sign of duality, the sign of understanding and harmonizing two seemingly incongruous aspects of ourselves, this is a good time to see what it is that's out of harmony in your life, what is out of balance, and what is it that needs to be adjusted. This can be affecting all of us on a certain level, but especially for those of us who have those 0 to 20 degree of the cardinal sign planets will be strongly affected by this eclipse. On the 5th of October, we have a finishing aspect of what happened between Mercury and Mars back on the 29th of January when they were both in Capricorn. Now Mars is in the sign of Cancer. Mercury is in the sign of Libra, opening up. These two brothers are able to communicate, but there might have been something that was going on the end of January that you spoke into action, or you made start into action, something to do with your business maybe, or changing the way you want to communicate and plan and process the way you get things done. So what's going to be happening here on the 5th of October might be a questioning of that. That first quarter square is what we call a crisis in action, which means there's caution involved. And with Mercury and Mars together, there's really not an understanding of what caution is. Both of these planets want to move forward as quickly as possible, do not want to be bothered. But the truth with this aspect is it is 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So this is a great time. If this does coincide with something you were kicking off around the end of January, you will want to kind of review things and make sure that things are going right. And if not, this is a good time for adjustment if you don't already get a sense of an adjustment from this space anyway. On the 8th of October, we have a Mercury Chiron opposition. This Mercury and Chiron were together around the 20th of March. of 2024. So this is speaking to something that is coming to a full realization. This might have been feeling or sensing into some sort of wound about yourself, a wound about how you understand and move and go about doing things in your life. And this Mercury here now is ready to speak things a little more eloquently about what those traumas and dramas might have been about and possibly what could be done to adjust them. So this is a good time to discuss things, to bring things out on the table, and to share opposing views and see what sort of a compromise or harmonizing aspect that can be done with this energy. On the 9th of October, Saturn in the sign of Pisces is going to be going retrograde, which will last about 6 months, backing up a ways from Neptune and re-hitting all those points that everyone's been hitting and feeling lately. So those of us who have any planets in those middle degrees of Pisces are going to be affected, especially those of us with Chiron and Saturn from the mid 60s and later. This is going to be a time of slowing things down, taking stock of things, maybe doing a little bit more meditation, doing some grounded breath work, doing some creative processes, checking out and seeing how the boundaries have been, what needs to be done. Saturn in Pisces is a lot like building sandcastles on the shore. So one learns that things are not about permanence. This is not a happy place for Saturn. So this kind of makes it even more palatable, more challenging. Things seem to take a little bit more time than usual. And also, you might be a little bit more pessimistic than usual because things are going so slow. But allow for the time to build, allow some time for taking care of things, for seeing, reviewing what the right relationship to wherever Pisces is in your chart to ground yourself in this space and have some ritual around it. I want to thank Christine Chianci, the amazing artist who hand painted every single one of the Astro Theater figures you see throughout this talk that I'm giving in each of the forecasts that I do each month. I love using the Astro Theater. We also have an Astro Theater book that's available. She also has the Roman Tarot, which I highly recommend for those of you who are tarot readers and who are fans of the Roman Empire. She's a brilliant and gifted being. Thank you, Christine. On the 11th of October, Pluto begins his final walk through the sign of Capricorn. It's going to be interesting to see what will finally be brought back into being, resuscitated. Pluto is asking for a pound of flesh. For those of you who have planets at the end of Capricorn, this is going to be a bit of a challenging time, but the one relief and thanksgiving in this aspect is that Pluto will not be going back into Capricorn for the rest of your life. So be interesting to see what happens with this Capricorn. And as it gets set up, this will be its final pass, of course, through Capricorn and finally into Aquarius, where it will be starting next month, which is November. Then we have a third quarter square on the 13th of October, which is going to be quite a busy day. We have a Mercury-Mars Square. Mercury is back originally with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. Whatever was going on for you on the 5th of February, 2024, this Mercury is now coming around to a third quarter square, coming up to finalize its return, coming up, and there might be some surprises in the ways in which we've had relationship. There might be this is going to be quite an intense month, I think, for Librans, especially, and for other people who have strong planets in Libra or placements in the other cardinal signs. This is going to be quite an awakening time of seeing things maybe that haven't been shared properly, or what we didn't know we didn't know. The third quarter square is a crisis in consciousness. And when we think about the things we don't know, it's quite extensive when we think about all of what life is, regardless of how much of a know-it-all we might be. On the 13th of October, that Mercury is going to be also leaving the sign of Libra and moving into the sign of Scorpio, joining sister Venus and looking at things in a much deeper and more intense way. What is the truth of what's going on? What are our deeper values? How do we see and process life, death, and rebirth? Where are we fixed in our ideas? Do we believe that we have an inheritance coming to us, or are we due something? These are the things that are going to be coming up as Mercury is in there asking these deeper questions, with Venus having the values of finding a more meaningful and merging relationship with others. We have another aspect which is going on, Mars squaring Chiron. This is a first quarter square. Again, the crisis in action. This Mars was back with Chiron in Aries, where Mars rules. So there's a very different energy going in there. As you can see, Mars now has a baby to take care of, doesn't really want to run off and fight a war or fighting battles. But you can also see that baby has a sword itself. So it hints to something about that inherent Martian energy that seeks to express even when at home. So whatever was initiated for you around the 29th of May of this year is going to be coming into a little bit of a cautionary mode. Do you want to risk taking things out? Do you really want to go forward with that plan you started around the end of May? These are the questions you need to ask yourself. These are the times when you can make adjustments to your course of action to seek to align with that original intention you had around the 29th of May. On the 14th of October, we have a first quarter square between the Sun and Mars. Mars in the sign of Cancer, the Sun in the sign of Libra. So whatever was initiated for you on the 17th of November, 2023, this is going to really be bringing up whatever sort of, maybe you made a business deal with one of your family members and some truth came out about the family member. Maybe they are a little more in debt than you thought they were, or maybe they really would rather be taking care of their family instead of dealing with what's going on with the business. So some communication needs to occur, some understanding that maybe there's a different way to go about doing things. Again, this is a square action, so there is an intention of not being sure of what was being done in the previous period. So we are talking about a crisis in action where that Mars isn't really going to be going as forward as it really wants to be. And so that Sun's going to have to share a little bit of light about where that might be happening and where that might be happening. On the 14th of October, we have an opposition between Uranus and Venus. They were back together in Venus's ruling sign. Very interesting. The two rulers, Mars and Venus, are meeting up with outer planets that hold quite a bit of energy in their home sign, in the sign they rule. So whatever was initiated for you around the 19th of May, 2024, there might be a full realization about whatever these values are, these goals are. There might be a realization and understanding about how your investments have been, whether you've handled them appropriately, whether you've adjusted yourself for how the markets have been, or whether you've been going along on a different path, your own unique path. These will come to light around the 14th of October for you, especially those of investments you made around the 19th of May. On the 17th of October, that Venus is going to be leaving the deep, intense sign of Scorpio and will move into the adventurous, travel-seeking, and yearning sign of Sagittarius, seeking larger ideas and philosophies, not being so much with her head down in the sand, but rather with her head held high and looking forward to see where she can shoot her arrow and have a new, loving, exciting adventure. On the 22nd of October, we have a Sun square Pluto. They were back together when the Sun was conjunct Pluto in the sign of Capricorn on the 21st of January. This is coming around. It is at this point here on the 22nd of October. It is at a third quarter square. So it is again this crisis in consciousness. We didn't know what we didn't know. We're having to adjust our ideas about our relationships. Maybe we need to make another understanding about business with friends. Maybe something has come to light that we didn't really appreciate, but this is a good time to discuss. And as I've said with these squares, they really require adjustment. So they require a communication and an understanding that things need to be adjusted so they can be made whole and the route can be cleared of any kind of stubble or debris in the way. 22nd of October, that sun is moving out of Libra and joining Venus and Mercury in the sign of Scorpio. Getting ready for Halloween time, anyone? So now things take a little more of an intense view. I think this is going to start showing us our challenging period coming up to the elections here in the United States. This is going to really speak to conspiracy theories, right? With the sun, Venus, and Mercury there. All of us are going to have to work hard to see about what we're hearing and listening to is the truth, or actually turning ourselves off from any kind of advertisements that are seeking to sway our thoughts and our minds towards things that we really don't want to hear. Scorpio is very discriminating. It needs to be discriminating. You can see they're wearing their goggles, their reflective goggles. They're wearing clothing that pretty much covers themselves completely. So they are not really letting anything in. So this is a good time to think about having boundaries. What do the boundaries need to be? How do we need to say no? When the commercial comes on the TV that says this is cold and flu season, in your mind, you should say not for me. It's important that the words you use, you program for yourself, that you take care of yourself. Scorpio is about really learning to love yourself in spite of the fact of the ways you might think that you aren't lovable or that you're too much this or too much that. This is about loving all parts of yourself. On the 28th of October, we have Venus going into a third quarter square with Saturn. They were together back on the 22nd of March. So this is going to speak to something about our values and the ways in which we have our boundaries and our relationships with our friends and our families and the world. Maybe we've been going out and enjoying our experiences out there with others and other places and falling in love with different spaces of ourselves and different places on the planet. And we need to incorporate that now with who we are in a deeper sense and where we ground it. Again, this is the third quarter square, so it has to do with a crisis in consciousness. I didn't know that I didn't know that there were different ways to have boundaries with people. I didn't know that I didn't know that I could fall in love with someone older or someone younger than myself, or find these different parts of myself that I thought were maybe no longer alive within me. Very vital period and will involve a lot of good creative expression, I would think. Then on the 30th of October, we have a Uranus-Mercury opposition. They were together back on the 1st of June when Mercury was conjunct that Uranus. So again, this has to do with what our values are. Maybe has to do with where we put our money. Maybe we've invested things and we need to talk about how we've invested it. Maybe we've done a will or structured our new trust, or decided that we need to be more clear and understanding about how we are in relationship to our resources, and that gambling or playing the stock market or cryptocurrency or whatever it is that you're doing, and maybe you don't understand it, this is a time that you're going to be shown the ways in which you need to see whatever it is that you're doing around June 1st, whether it's a good response or whether it's a challenging response, is going to be dependent upon whether it's in alignment with what your particular chart is. And if you like what I'm offering here, please hit the like button, please share, please comment, please ask questions. I love engaging with you all. If you're needing a reading, if any of these important spots along the chart are hitting spots in your own chart, please feel free to contact me at michael@coremichael.com, or you go click the book now section on my website and make an appointment with me. I'd be happy to be of service to you and help guide you along the path to transform you in the most profound ways possible to help guide you in the ways you need. Thank you so much for joining me today. Wish you a blessed October. It's going to be an intense month, but I know you can do it. Take care and thank you.